taking pictures. I'll let somebody else do it.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever anyone is. My name is Lucie McGuire, and I do work for Aero Title Services. I am the Business Development Officer there. Before we get started, though, who's excited to talk about title insurance? I'm not that convinced. You guys don't sound that excited. Let's try that again. Who's excited to talk about title insurance? It's all right. If you're not excited, hopefully by the end of this you will be excited, because you probably don't know what title insurance is, and that's the reason why you're not excited about it, right? So if you know what title insurance is, could you please raise your hand? All right, so that's about half the room. Y'all don't know what title insurance is? Brian. So title insurance, let me just start off with. Title insurance is the one thing that protects you in your home ownership of your home. So it's the one thing that protects you from anything that's happened in the past, whereas most insurances protect you from things that are going to happen in the future. So when the title transfer happens with a house, you don't know how many times that house has been sold or bought, right? Over the past 30, however many years. And each time that title is transferred, it is done by humans, which is great. We like humans. Humans are good. But humans, there is human error. And so when error comes along, it might be overseen. And so what we're doing is we're researching on the back end to say, okay, let's make sure that there's no issue in the chain of title that's gone on in the past, where we all know that sometimes people like to take things into their own hands to save money and do quick claim deeds and just, oh, everything is good with the house. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with the house, of course not. And we want to trust people, right? But doing due diligence is really important, especially when it comes to the most important and probably the largest investment you'll ever make in your life, right? So a lot of times people don't understand how title insurance comes into the process. When we're talking about buying a home, there are three key aspects to the home buying process. And everybody knows about two, but not the third, which I'm guessing you can guess what it is. The first one is a realtor. Realtors are super important to the process. We are in this every single day, everyone in the real estate industry, and there are new things that come up every single day. And there are very specific, every transaction is different. So you can't compare your transaction to another transaction, et cetera, and they help guide you. They're the guiding light through the whole process. Then there's your mortgage company, if you're getting a mortgage, or if you're paying cash, yes, for the lenders in the room. And everybody knows about those two aspects. They're like, oh, if I need money, I need to go get a mortgage, and if I need to buy a house, I need to go to a realtor or sell my house, right? But then they don't hear about that third piece until it's time to go to that third piece, which is the title insurance, the title company, sometimes an attorney. And up north you can use it. There are some states that require you to only use an attorney, but here in Florida, you have the option to use a title company or an attorney. And this is what I say when it comes to title and who you're choosing, because when you're buying, selling, or refinancing, you have the choice in who you utilize for your title company. So when the realtor comes over to you and they're like, well, do you know a title company you'd like to use? And most people say, a title company? Oh, I don't know, whoever you suggest. But now you can say, you know one, huh? And what's really great is the communication that is required in that process. It's a very important communication from all parties involved. And we are the one that collects all that information from buyer, seller, realtors, both realtors on both sides, the lenders. We also make sure that all of that, there's so much we do on the back end of things, making sure that you get the survey, making sure that there are no liens on the property. And we put all of that information together in a nice little document for you to sign, and all you know is closing day, and you're like, yeah, closing day. And you're signing your papers, and you feel like you're signing your life away. And the important aspect that we also provide is during that closing process, when you're signing those documents, where you're signing your life away, we're explaining that to you. And if you are signing documents if you sign documents and you're not reading your documents, you should be. A lot of times, people don't understand what they're signing at the end of the day. And when I got into this business, I never expected to be in title insurance. I never expected to be passionate about title insurance. But when I got into it, I realized, wow, the common person doesn't know about this, and this is really, really important. And it blew my mind that nobody knew that this was such an important piece that's behind the process when you're buying a house. So I made it my mission to educate Martin County and the Treasure Coast about title insurance. And here I am today, guys. So in the spirit of Halloween, I figured I would share a couple of stories. Maybe not a couple, because now I'm getting a 3-minute mark here. But when it comes to title nightmares, right? Those things that go bump in the night, that we don't want to ever come up. We don't want the boogeyman to come up under our bed. But there are a few different aspects or stories that can come, and I like to give an example for you guys so that you can visualize when this would make sense for you, right? So one is unmentioned heirs, all right? There's a person who comes out of the woodworks and is like, well, I own your home. And you're like, well, who are you? And you're like, well, I'm Betty Boppa Boop's brother-in-law's sister's mother. And they say that they own property, and they might even come up with paperwork saying like, hey, this is how I have a deed to this property. And maybe this is something that wasn't caught in the chain of title. So when this happens, and someone's coming and knocking on your door saying they own your home, that's when title insurance comes in. So when you get title insurance on that property, you can then say, no, I bought title insurance. And that title company will actually, it's like putting a claim into your insurance company for if your roof falls off of your house, right? So they'll pay for your court fees. They'll pay to make sure that they're fighting for you to own that home. And there's so much at stake of being lost in that process of your equity or your down payment, whatever you put into that house. So again, being the biggest part of your, biggest investment in your life is really important. Another last thing that I want to, I had 3, but I'll say 2 for the sake of time. The second one that really hits home for people is when invalid deeds. And an invalid deed, that's a deed to your property, what says you own it. Let's go back 20 years. Let's say 20 years ago, a mother is saying that they would like to give the house to their son. She has other children, but apparently she likes this son a lot and wants to give him the house. So she signs over a deed with 2 witnesses to the son, and the son thinks he owns it, but she does not get it notarized. 20 years in the future, here we are today. And this actually happened here locally. Mother has passed away. Son thinks he owns the property, goes to try and sell the property. We do the research behind it, and we say, ooh, you don't own the property, your mother does. And he says, well, no, she signed over and it was an invalid deed. So then the property rights revert back to the mother, but the mother's passed away. There's 5 children. That ownership splits into 5. Let's say one of the brothers passed away as well, had 2 kids, splits off again. Now there's another point of contact. There's split up into 6 different ownerships of that home. And for him to be able to sell that home, he would have to get permission from every single person and get every single person to sign that he owns that home. And we all know when it comes to money, family isn't always so nice, right? So he didn't want to go through that. He was like, well, I've been in this house for 15 years and he would have had to pay for all of those costs to get everybody, and one of the sisters was in jail in another state. Like, there's a lot that goes into the process to be able to make sure that he would have gotten that, so he would have been able to sell it. So he ended up just backing away and saying, well, I'm just going to sit in my corner and act like I still own this house or whatever. We don't know where he went from there. But just an example to really put it into perspective for you, like why it's important. And when someone says, hey, I've got a house that I want to sell to you or whatever it might be, I've had people come to me and be like, oh, well, they said it's free and clear. And I'm like, honey, we don't know strangers. We don't take candy from strangers, and we don't take houses from strangers without getting the proper process. So that's really what we do, and I hope that that brought to light just a little bit of what we do. So if you know someone who is buying, selling, or refinancing, and they are going through that process, they do need a title company in the process. We would love the referral. We have an office stock, we have a really great atmosphere, and I hope that I've shed a little light on this riveting topic of title insurance for you all. And yeah, that's me.